and welcome to A Time to Thrill. This is your host, Aime Austin. It is May, and I'm here with a little announcement. On May 3rd, if you head over to thrillerblast.com, you'll be able to download free thrillers from me and some of my best thriller writing buddies. It's going to be a little thing where we're doing to give our readers an opportunity to sample thrillers across the genre, crime, legal, psychological, romantic, and it'll be great. So May 3rd, thrillerblast.com. Come on over for the free books. Stay for the stories. So it is May. Oh my God, I can't believe it's already May. And that's a great thing. This month, I am featuring an interview with Gumball Love creator and dating coach Melissa Leger. Every so often you come across people who change your life dramatically. Becca Syme was one from an earlier episode, and Melissa Leger's another. She, at some point, after you get divorced and you're sitting in therapy, you spend a lot of time assessing the kinds of romantic relationships that you've had, or I spent a lot of time assessing for sure. And I couldn't figure out why they weren't working. And I I don't know how I came across Melissa, but I was biking and I was listening to her discuss her Gumball Love concept and the Gumball guys. And for once, I understood what all those broken and non-functioning relationships had in common. And it wasn't obvious. And that's what her sort of concept did. It made it clear and obvious that even though this guy was this kind of guy and that guy was that kind of guy, they were really the same sort of attention-seeking guys. And it broke the pattern, and it was like one of the biggest eye-opening experiences I've had in the last couple of years. So I'm forever grateful to her. So of course, I'm the kind of person who reached out, and I'm so delighted that she agreed to have this conversation. And you'll get to hear how she pulled all those disparate pieces together in sort of a brilliant way to have like a streamlined concept of attention-seeking guys or girls, it can be anybody, that you want to avoid if you want to have like a deep, long-lasting and loving relationship, because most of these people are unable to do that because they're too busy trying to fulfill their own deprivation and their own needs. So without further ado, I can't wait for you to listen to this lovely conversation with Gumball Love creator Melissa Leger. Hi, this is Aime Austin. Welcome to Time to Thrill. I am so excited this month to interview dating coach or relationship coach Melissa Leger. Hi, Melissa.
Hey, how are you?
I'm so excited to talk to you.
I know. It's always fun to talk to you. I can't wait. This is going to get juicy immediately. I know it.
I know. So Melissa is a relationship coach, and she is known for a concept called Gumball Love, which is also your website. And she's the coach for Back to You Academy and Level Up for Love. And I also want to ask you a little bit about your quiz when we get to that. But
Yeah.
so your website's gumballlove.com, and you are on Facebook and pretty much everywhere.
Yes, pretty much everywhere. So yes, I'm a relationship coach. I help ambitious professional women identify red flags, discover their worth, increase their confidence, and help them take the right action so they can ultimately find true love. So it's really about stopping the cycle of sugar high romance, which is where the Gumball Love comes in, and we can get into what sugar high romance really means.
Mm-hmm.
What most of us are in that cycle. We're in a pattern. So once we stop that cycle, discover our true worth, that's when you open the doors to finding true love.
Oh, yes. So I will say this, and I still to this day, I thought about it the last night again. I don't know how I came upon you, but one of the things that I do is when I get confused or don't understand things, I will voraciously consume anything to try to figure it out. And with that comes a lot of bumps in the road. But I think during the pandemic, I came upon you, and I remember riding a bike and also standing in line for a vaccine, listening to you, and it was as if a light had come on, and I was
I love
like,
it.
"Oh, here we go." Can't
Mhm.
believe I've wasted so much time and energy when here's a light bulb moment. So, can you tell us a little bit about how you came to the gumball love concept?
Yeah. So, long story short, a guy said in a random conversation, every time he puts in a quarter, you give him a gumball. Stop giving him gumballs. And I remember hearing that quote and thinking, in the case he was talking about, it was a couple in an argument. And every time he would push her buttons, she would respond. And
Mhm.
the guy was like, that's like a gumball. And I remember I just never forgot that. It stuck in my mind because I thought, "Ooh, that's an interesting thing. It's like a reward." And
Right.
it stayed with me. In fact, my sister, my mom, our close friends, we would start to look at guys acting immaturely, or in these stupid interactions, and then we just started saying, "Oh, there's that gumball. He wants the gumball. He wants the sugar high, but he's not really interested in the fight doesn't have a point. He's just trying to get you worked up." Or he doesn't really want a relationship with you. He just wants the sugar high of the sex, or just even the fact that you're interested in having sex with him, but he's
Mhm.
not interested in that leading to something. So when you break it down, it's really, and it evolved over years. Like I've been working on this and researching this for almost 15 years of looking at what is actually going on. And when you think about the gumball machine, this is really about, is it a transactional relationship or is this a transformational relationship? Am I completing a transaction? So if you walk away from this podcast and you're like, what did she just say? You want to ask yourself, what is the transaction? Where's the quarter? Where's the gumball? What am I doing that's responding to behavior? And when I respond, does that lead anywhere? Does that get me anywhere? Or am I just moving to the next transaction? So in the hookup culture, you hooked up, transaction. Now
Right.
what? You feel like you're always starting over. Where
Mhm.
in a transformational relationship, you're making investments, you're making deposits, things you can't get an immediate return. So
Right.
when someone gets to know you and they spend time with you and they don't really get anything out of it other than getting to know you, they're making an investment. They're putting time into it. And that's when you can tell, okay, this goes more along the lines of transformational. Now, sometimes we can have dates like that and we think, oh my God, I had my first date that was 6 hours. Maybe that was transformational, or you may have just fed him all the right attention. You were like, "Oh my god, you're so amazing. I can't believe you had all those accomplishments." So, you may have just been feeding him the right gumballs through that whole conversation,
Right.
and you're not yet aware when you're really making true connection. So that is the whole purpose of this, is to really help people differentiate, is this transactional? Is it transformational? Learning the red flags so you become very good at, this is what I do with my clients and all my coaching programs. I make it so this is second nature to you, and you no longer are encumbered by, oh my god, I'm overwhelmed with online dating, or I don't know what's going on, or I don't know how, like women that haven't been dating for a long time, they don't know what to do. It's very simple. Once you understand these patterns, and the patterns are in all these different flavors that I coach, it becomes very easy. You can relax, you can enjoy yourself, and this is the first step in the process, that just identifying the pattern is the very beginning.
Yes, and so one of the things I think that's really great is that you have a much more global view of the pattern as attention seeking, and I think that is sort of brilliant because it really gives you or gives women who are dating a framework to evaluate what is going on in the relationship. So can we talk a little bit? You have eight flavors of gumballs, which I love your colors. um,
Great. Yes.
so you have, I'm looking at, I have a list here. I'm so good. So you have basically red for arouse me, orange for fight me, yellow for entertain me, green compete for me,
Mhm.
blue pity me, purple idolize me, pink chase me, and white convince me. And
Yes.
as I was saying to you earlier, a friend and I were spending a lot of time talking about these last night. And the white one, she was like, "Oh, so many of those
Mhm.
in her
Yes.
life." But what I find interesting about this is that one of the things that I think has been difficult for dating, especially now with the internet culture and the ability to read so much about dating, is that I feel like a lot of articles or advice really is too focused on the minutia of behavior.
Mhm.
So, I mean, there's so many. I mean, if you scroll through Instagram and you follow a lot of dating coaches, it's like, did he ghost you? Have you called him in 3 days, 2 days? I don't know, any number of days. And while that's entertaining and maybe interesting, doesn't go to the core of whether or not that person is interested in a relationship. And
Exactly.
all of that
Mhm.
guessing doesn't really help answer the question. And really, it seems to waste a lot of time. It's like, well, he didn't call for 3 days, but then he said, hey, where are you? And then he started a conversation, then he disappeared. I mean, there's so much of that.
Mhm.
And while that's interesting, not helpful. So, would you mind talking a little bit about the gumballs? Because I have so many thoughts about them.
Yeah.
So, in terms of go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just wanna say really quick,
Mm,
work all of that content, I consumed it for years,
mhm,
looking at all these experts, what are they saying? In fact, I have an article literally up on my screen right now. I follow the clickbait relationship advice.
right.
And what I did not realize, because my career, my corporate career was in banking, and I
Hmm.
sat at a company, and I won't say the name, and I won't tell you who it was, but it was one of these clickbait relationship guys that was selling garbage. Literally, understand the mind of a man. So let me tell you, I am engaged. I'm getting married in July. I did not have to understand the mind of a man. None of my married friends, nobody that's married, walk up to a married woman and ask her, did you have to figure out how a man thinks before your husband decided to marry you? I got so irritated. I started test this clickbait stuff.
Hmm.
Look at that advice and go ask people that have the result you want. Did you do any of this? Did you play any of these games? Did you follow any of this BS? I got a big fat no. If you find a woman that said, yes, I played this succession of games and I followed this guy's program, and now I have a guy that I feel like isn't cheating on me and is my devoted, loyal husband, please call me and let me know who the F that chick is. I would love to meet her because I couldn't find it. And I started to get annoyed with myself. I'm like, what have I been doing? I'm an idiot. I've been following all these men telling me what men think. It's like, and what I realized is when I was working in my banking career, we happened to pull up. Actually, I saw a list of accounts, and I was just supposed to be doing training for a new job. I just started there, and I saw one of these guys, and I said, "Can you click on that one?" I saw he was making $300,000 a month. He had no social media. He had he never even showed up on video, hardly at all. He
Hmm.
had emails that went on and on and on about all this advice. And I was like, "Oh my god, this is the moneymaker to keep you thinking you're just doing one thing wrong, or if you just tweak this thing about yourself, then he'll come back to you. That guy that's not calling you, there's a few things if you just do them this way, then he'll." And so, of course, when you want that guy and you're into him and you're like, "Yeah, why we had such a great time," and you're kind of in that bargaining, you're grieving the loss, you're desperate, and so
And willing to do anything for
you're
sure.
willing to do anything, and I've read it, I've clicked the things, and I've paid it's like, you know what? I have to know the one thing that guys want because I'm gonna pay the $47 because this guy's gonna talk to me for 4 hours before he tells me the one thing. Let me find out. And activate his hero complex, blah, 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 all of that
Yes,
crap.
I
It
know.
was like, you get all that, and it's like it might work for a while, and when we get into the flavors, it's really gumball advice. It might work temporarily, but it's not going to build long-term connection. And so this is my goal, is to help women look through. There is so much good relationship advice out there, but I want to give her the eyes to see, oh, that's interesting, that's compelling, that's something that I've never thought of before, because I don't have it all figured out.
Right.
But there is a lot of money to be made in preying on us as women when we feel like we have lost love, or we feel like we've done something wrong, we feel like something is wrong with us, and we have had the last 3 guys ghost us, and we're like, what WTF, dude? Like, they're this, so then something like that article comes up and it grabs you, because it seems like, well, this is a guy and he wants to help women and he says he's going to help smart and successful women find love, blah blah blah. So I have such a strong reaction to that now, because as a content creator, if you can get up every day and create bullshit for your clients, I just like I just have such a visceral reaction to that because I have so many of my women entrepreneur friends that wake up every day and you're like, what can I give to my people? They have such a heart for and a passion for what they do. And to think to live in these people's bodies where they literally wake up and they prey on the insecurities and the fears and then
Mm.
sell products that don't really give solutions.
Yeah.
It's the reason I show up every day to fight against these.
No, it's very similar to diet culture because it's like, okay, well, here's the
Yes.
short-term solution. If I just drink cabbage juice or whatever it is, then the magic will happen. And I'm sure, I mean, I've done this myself. You're like standing there, not getting the text, or he just left, or whatever. And you're thinking, if I were pretty, smarter, I don't know, live somewhere else, did something different. I don't like, I've gone through all of them. Then something would be different. And then you're like, okay, well, how can I figure out what the thing is that gets him in the door? But I wish I had. So I come from a trauma background myself, and I think that didn't help me obviously at all. But what I wish I had thought about, I didn't think about the other people, the men in that way at all. It was like, well, I'm gonna do what I can do to like fix my stuff. And I think, at least my experience, is that they're using the attention, not even to fix their stuff, just to paper over it.
Yes.
I mean, sort
Yes,
of.
the gumball is when you think about he wants when you if you think about he wants the gumball, he wants the sugar high. So the sugar high and we'll get into the 8 flavors of attention.
Mhm.
And people walking away, I remember when I first was coming up with the 8 flavors, I had to keep looking at my wall, be like, "Okay, which flavor is what?" Like, I had to get it in my own head, so
Right,
I want everyone listening not to think that they have to have all these flavors memorized,
right.
because for a long time, I didn't color code them because I felt like attention is so broad. You put in a quarter, you get a gumball. What kind of attention? Is he looking for attention or is he actually building connection? So
Mhm,
you can keep it that simple because I did for years.
mhm.
However, the flavors, I wanted to make it more identifiable
Right.
versus just being so generic and
Mhm.
to give people so for about 2 years, I put these giant stickers with all the gumball colors on my giant, Post-it sized, stickies on my walls, and there were some that were obvious, like, okay, what is a common attention-seeking category?
Right. And I think
And
that's the first one, that's always the sex. I mean,
it's
especially with
always the sex.
online dating.
Mm, yes. It's always the sex, and so now, I you can look at each flavor of attention and you can if you look at sex, sex isn't always attention seeking. People
Right.
can have a healthy sexual relationship. People can get married and have sex inside of a marriage and it's greater in a committed relationship. So the sex isn't necessarily attention seeking. However, when it's attention seeking, it's when it's used when there's no foundation. I don't know you and I'm asking you send a pic.
Right.
So then you send a pic and then he's like, "Ooh, you're hot." And then so in a lot of ways you get a gumball as well. So everybody's getting the sugar high of attention and there's this volley back and forth. He puts in a quarter, sometimes you're putting in a quarter. So we can all be getting these sugar highs of attention and we can get caught up in he's getting high off of you being into him.
Right.
Now, my ideal client feels like this is witty banter. She feels like this is going to lead to something. This is sexual chemistry. And we're into each other. And eventually we'll be on hot dates and we'll be, sharing a uh, ice cream cone or whatever. That
Right.
would be gross to share an ice cream cone. Never mind. We're sharing some dessert or we're having, cappuccino at the Four Seasons. Like you think like this is going somewhere and we miss red flags of this guy doesn't know me and he's saying send a pic. This guy doesn't really know me and he's already wanting to hook up. So he's using the sex. So sex is the quickest way to feel close to somebody without actually letting them see who you really are. So
And that,
you're
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and that's the most interesting. So, well, let me say this: the reason the arouse me comes off so strong is because, at least in my experience, having been married a long time and then dating after that, that is, at least on dating apps, that's, well, I would say 90%, but it's a lot of what people come at you with. oh, you're so cute. I like your lips, hair, but whatever, pick your thing.
Mhm. Yep.
And, or they send the dick pic or
Mhm.
any of that, the shirtless selfie in the bathroom. Oh my God, so many.
Right.
Um, what are you wearing? Send me a pic. And that, so I'm going to say, to be frank, that one seems the most obvious, but it is one of the ones that, at least among people I know who are dating, is often the most compelling because
Mhm.
it's somebody who's saying, you're attractive, and that's, well, women get a different kind of abuse online. That's a whole different conversation.
But it feels good,
But
right?
it feels good. Yeah.
When he's see, I always give the George Costanza example. When it's George Costanza, it feels gross. But when it's, a guy that's like Channing Tatum saying, "Ooh, you're so beautiful," you're like, "Hey, well how you doing?" Like then
Exactly.
then you're like, "Well, maybe I do want to answer this message." And
Right.
so we have to, and it's hard, right? You have to be able to resist the temptation of being drawn into it because it's a pattern.
Hmm.
And so does a guy who respects himself, that has high self-worth, does he send those kinds of messages? What kind of man do you actually want to be married to? How does he hold himself? What are his standards? And that's the first shift of how you look at that guy, because you get into this weird world of online dating where there's
It's like
we
an echo chamber.
yes. Yes, and your expectations get lowered only because you've spent too much time in one universe looking for men,
Hmm.
and it's like, this is one area you can look, but there's so many others.
Right. But it's a little echo chamber. And well, at least for me, it starts out, you're like, wait, what? Wait, what? Oh, and then people are like, oh, that's just how it is. And you're like, oh, or that's what's happened in the 2000s or whatever the answer is. And then you're like, oh, well, maybe things have changed. I don't know. And then that can become its own little cycle. But what I have found is I'm trying to think, none of those people have ever gone beyond the surface.
In your experience, you mean? Like,
Yes, my experience.
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
So if you go out with them, I don't think I went out with any of them, but if you go out with them, it's nothing more than that. Or they sit during dinner. I find them creepy. I think there's this one guy and they sit there and they're like, oh, can I hold your hand? Your fingers are so sexy. The way you drink that drink is so sexy. And you're like, okay, can I leave now? Because
Yeah.
it's a little odd.
Yeah, and so he's starving for the red gumball, right? So if you separate, okay, I'm going to separate myself out of this picture, and I'm just going to look at what what he is saying. He's already, his mindset is looking for, feed me the high that I need to feel good about myself.
Hmm.
So you might have sexy fingers drinking your drink. And yes, that can be true. But the way he's delivering it, he's telling you, I have an addiction to attention and I would like this flavor. And this is the quarter I'm putting in. I wish we had different colored quarters for, the quarter, but he's
Yeah.
giving you the red quarter. He wants the red gumball. And so if we respond, if you don't respond to it, you see a very different reaction from the guy. And sometimes when it's a hot guy and he says something super sexual, you sit there like, okay, I don't want to look like I don't want to look bitchy, but I don't like the way that feels.
Right. Yes. It
It's
feels
just like,
kind of gross sometimes.
yeah, like, I don't know. Did you watch Love is Blind, the
Yes.
Netflix series? Okay.
Yes.
So if nobody watched it, it was the Indian guy Sheikh who talked to the Indian woman Deepti and every other woman, but he
Mhm.
specifically told her, he asked her things like, could I put you on my shoulders at a concert? Would I be able to pick you up?
Right.
So it was right away. And then she sat there with that face of
I
like,
know.
I don't like that question, but she was afraid to look uncool.
Hmm.
So she let it go, and look at all that time she could have avoided with such a POS. I
Right.
wanna, like, punch in the face daily. I can't stand the guy. So spoiler or spoiler alert, sorry, I should have said that, but, hey, you can watch it. I didn't tell you what happens in the end, but just know that when you see them, Melissa Ledger would like to punch him in the face. And in front of Deep D, so to vindicate her, because she is like my hero. It's my goal to get her on my podcast because she's such a phenomenal woman. So it's like you're afraid to look uncool, but it's in those moments where you don't have to make a stand to that guy. You
Right.
don't have to say anything specific, but you can make a note and move away from, or get out of the date, and end things early, knowing that this is not the kind of person that is going to be a father, a husband, and hang out with your mom or help her. Like, I mean, Ian, my fiance, he'll go over and help her put her furniture together that she got, or helps her with her taxes or her financial planning, and he'll go hang out with my dad, like, by himself. Like, that to me, as a husband, that is somebody that is investing in me and in my life. So some guy that shows up with, his dick pic,
Right.
he's telling you, it's like, here's my dick. It's like, okay, I rarely got a dick pic, which I was so disappointed because I have such great comebacks for it. But it's just like, I would be like, why are you sending me this? Like, what is it? What is this supposed to do here? Like, okay, so you're randomly turned on and you're showing me, are you proud? You're proud of the size? Like, I would ruin it immediately, because they want you to be like, ooh, that's amazing. And also it proves they don't know women at all, because we are never
Oh, I
Googling
know.
pictures of dicks on our own time. Like,
Never.
I've never heard a girl, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just Googling dick pictures. Like said no woman ever, like, we're not doing that. And so they don't even understand that that's not how we're wired. So we could go on and on about arouse me,
Right.
but that is I always want women to think about, it's never about the sex itself. It's about the intensity behind sexual desire that makes them feel so good.
Mhm.
Okay, so it's not when he finally has sex with you. Yes, that is the very end. However, it's all the stuff that happens before
Mhm.
that makes it super exciting. And
Mhm.
that's why when the sex happens, they lose interest, because the crescendo was building to that point. And once the sex happens, then the anticipation was more fun than the actual event. So that's where you have to be careful, because even if you don't have sex with guys, they can maintain that excitement about you and still be a gumball guy. Some girls
Mm,
think, oh, if I withhold sex, I might be getting a good guy.
no,
I've
I
been a
mean,
girl
yeah.
that withheld sex almost every single time, and the guys don't give up because there's no sex. They probably just get it somewhere else, but
Right, well, yeah.
they'll get it somewhere else, or just that thrill of the chase can make it even more exciting.
Yeah, and yes, and so it's but it's not obvious. Well, maybe to me it wasn't. It's not that obvious when they're coming across, because you're thinking to yourself, okay, so now when you get this, is there going to be more behind this? And the answer is no. But the build up part is a huge part of the attention seeking. And as women, I think we often focus on their ultimate, what we feel their goal is, and their goal is to get this. We think their goal is to get the sex, and we skip over the fact that their goal is to get the attention.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes, and we miss those cues,
right,
because people have hooked up and ended up married.
right,
But if you talk to people that started their relationship with a hookup,
hmm,
it also continued with other aspects of getting to know each other. So it's a very high risk. In
right,
fact, my girl Christina from the brand Can't Get a Text Back,
hmm.
I interviewed her on my podcast. She met her husband. They hooked up on Tinder, and but she's like, he asked her on real dates, and then they did continue. So it can happen, although her product right now is ditch hookup culture. So she does not recommend it, because it's a lifestyle that she sort of led, and she helps her clients get out of that lifestyle. And so even people who have done it it will say, it's kind of like Russian roulette. You don't, it's not the best way it's
Yeah,
probably
I
the
know.
worst way. And
Right.
it can work sometimes, but
But
not
the other
typically.
98%, maybe not so much.
Yes, exactly.
And the women, I think, at least women I know, come out of the back end kind of disheartened often by
Hmm.
it, because they feel like that was if even if they, especially if they've held out, well, now that they gave them the thing, now we can have the next level, and the guy's gone, or
Hmm.
gone and come back for the same thing later, but not there
Hmm.
in the interim.
Yes. Yeah, so even if you were a girl, let's say there's a girl out there that says, I like to have sex early on, but I still want to have a good relationship, then she just needs to understand what it looks like when a guy is interested in a relationship. and that we don't misinterpret sexual chemistry for interest in relationship.
Ugh, okay, yes. There's so much that. So I have some thoughts, and I want to ask you a little bit about the drama king. So that one, I've encountered this guy, and I could not. It was a new one. It was a new one. The arouse me is a little more obvious to me,
Mhm. Mhm.
mainly because they're coming out with it. But the drama king, that confounded me, because
Mm.
they start with, my experience. But my ex is crazy. That's usually how that starts.
Yep.
And you're like, okay. And I think to myself, to be honest, I'm not crazy. I don't do drama. Like, I just don't like, I like a very calm, harmonious, boring life. And I'm happy with that. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, well, I don't do drama. And then they're like picking fights with you. And you're like, why are you picking a fight? I don't fight. And it's the weirdest. Well, for me, that was one of the weirdest ones. And I can't figure out what they get from, I mean, I know they get the attention and a lot of stuff circling around them, but I don't know how they can sustain it because it drives me nuts.
Mhm.
Um,
So what confuses you about it the most?
why would they want a relationship where there's so much animosity, angst, ups and downs, roller coaster drama? It's too, I don't know how you do that and also have a job. Like, I can't,
Mhm.
because I find it too upsetting. And then
Mhm.
I can't focus on the things I need to focus on. So for me, that doesn't work at all. And those are the people who last the shortest period of time. But when you talk to them, they keep talking about, well, every one of them is crazy. And this one was kicking me out. And this one was screaming in the street. And this one was chasing my car. And
Mhm.
I'm like, and you want that? And then but they always say to me, I don't want that. And you're like, but you've had 15 years of that.
Mhm.
So I guess they get off on the attention. I just don't understand. It's a little too much for my particular constitution.
Mhm. Well, it doesn't always come across as so first I want to make sure that the 8 flavors of attention,
Mhm.
the quiz that we're developing, and it's actually turned into an assessment. I was going to make this public, but after working with my own coach, the quiz is quite in depth and a little too overwhelming for just someone in the general public to take it. So I reserve it for now my private clients and people that do my group coaching, because if you take the quiz, it determines what flavors of attention the guy craves
Right.
and where the percentage. So it's going to be a percentage of some percentage will fall into each category,
Right.
and some are more heavily weighted. So I could have a guy that's a fight me, arouse me, convince me,
Mhm.
and then pity me, and it'll go in, like, you'll see signs of it. So remember, when I didn't have them all categorized, it's all attention seeking.
Right.
However, some guys use different flavors differently. So now the flavors actually made this concept so much more powerful, because now I can see, oh, so if he leads with fight me, what kind of a guy is this? How does he
Mhm.
show up on a date? It shows up like, why do you wear that nail polish?
Mhm. The negging. Here we
Yep,
go.
the negging. So that's the negging is the player technique, but the neg guy that is that's the guy that's trying to get you to have sex with him because you become a conquest. So the neg makes you feel like you have to defend yourself, and it knocks a girl down a level,
Mhm.
and it makes her feel bad about herself in that moment. So then she tends to seek him for approval.
Right.
So the neg is kind of a different concept, but
Right.
it can happen from a fight me guy. But the guy that wants he's picking fights with you because he likes that interaction. He likes the banter. So it can feel like witty banter at first with some of
Yes.
these guys where you
Which is
think, oh,
that's where I get, because I like witty banter, but that's where it
mhm.
starts. But then it's like a roller coaster. Falls
Then
right
it's
off.
like yes, then it's like a roller coaster. So, there's actually a very in-depth, I feel like your audience could handle this concept.
Mhm.
So, when when we're babies and we are crying and our mom comes to nurture us, feed us, change our diapers, all of those things. A lot of us have studied this in psychology and early, high school or college courses where we understand healthy attachment.
Right.
So, what I learned through a gentleman named Billy Gordon, who is unfortunately he passed away in 2014, but he was researching this concept, and I was actually trying to interview him. I didn't realize he was sick at the time.
Mhm.
Um, but he talked about how what attention seeking and drama had, what was going on with attention seeking and drama, and why are people creating fights? Like, why would people want conflict? Why would they create conflict? Why are they always trying to make something more? Why are they creating drama?
Mhm.
And it's because they don't know how to calm themselves down.
Mhm. That's
They
yes.
they lack the receptors and the hypothalamus that were not wired there from, I say wired, but they were not developed in the brain
Mhm.
as an infant due to trauma. So when you talked about earlier trauma, some of us may have this issue as well. Like, this isn't obviously exclusive to men. So
Mm.
any of us that have experienced trauma, especially early on in brain development, we don't have the receptors where when serotonin is released and it goes into the hypothalamus to calm you down, they don't have that. So they have to they need an endorphin rush to then release your endorphins release from your pituitary gland.
Mhm.
And so that then will calm people down. So if you think about people that are very intense and they create drama, they often need to get to that heightened emotional state to then that is the release, and then they can calm down.
Yeah.
So they're edgy, they're irritable. Like, I can see that guy who he might like kind of rock back and forth, or he's kind of like very agitated, or his eyes are shifting around, or he's very quickly bored.
Right.
He's just waiting to start an argument.
Mhm.
That's your drama king that feeds off of the conflict and likes the attention that conflicts bring. So he's going to always he'll pick on you, he'll start an argument, he'll make fun of you, he'll do something embarrassing in public to get you to have the reaction
Oh God.
because he
Yes.
gets high. He literally gets high off of that response.
And so and that's okay, so I'm gonna go for the next one because this okay, so this is one person. And so what my experience has been and that of a lot of people I know, and you're like, okay, well, I'm not gonna the guys with the dick pics filter. The guys who, these guys with the drama filter. But then you're on to the next one. And this entertained me, and
Mhm.
this is the one I probably spent the most time with. They just can't, well, at least in my experience, can't be alone,
Right.
and they can't seem to exist unless there's like a spotlight on them. And
Mhm.
that to me, that was the hardest to manage.
Yeah.
It's like I would like to. I'm like, I'm going to go shopping. Well, I'll come with you. And and you're like, I'm going to sit on the couch. Well, I'm just going to sit right here. And you're just like, can I just
Mhm.
have 5 minutes to breathe?
Yes.
And that one is to me the hardest because they require so much pacification constantly. And
Yes.
that's so much pacifying. And that one's the hardest. But that one I think is one of the least obvious because it doesn't seem objectively bad. I mean, you get a dick pic, you're like, okay, whatever, right?
Mhm.
And the guy's
Mhm.
screaming at you, and you're like, okay, whatever. But oh, I'm just gonna sit over here in a corner and look at you and your friends over there having some wine and talking, and just give you those looks, and then you go over and it's like,
Mhm.
when are we
Mhm.
leaving? Well, we've been here 10 minutes, well,
Right.
you know, yes,
Ugh.
that, yeah.
Yes, I call the entertain me
Mm,
gumball the fussy baby, and the pacifier is exactly so I want this to become more obvious. So if you feel the need, where's the pacifier? Oh, there he is. He's by himself in a social setting. So
mhm,
this is when I teach my clients you have to understand you need a man that can handle himself in a social setting.
mhm,
I started to get so annoyed with that I became like, okay, if I don't have that in a relationship, I am uninterested. If you cannot hold yourself in a social setting, I just can't deal with it. Like Ian and I went to my cousin's St. Patrick's Day party. We walk in, there's probably, I bet there were 40 or 50 people in one house, all talking. It's super loud. There's 1,000 conversations going on. And I got swept away by my cousins and friends because they were all excited about our engagement. And I don't even think I talked to Ian for like, I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour. And at one point I was like, where is he? Is he in the other room? I had no idea. And that's what I wanted because he knows how to hold a conversation. He's actually the more social one than me. He's much more he's more skilled, and he's entertained clients, and he lived in New York City for 15 years and worked in the corporate world as an executive. So he knows how to hold himself.
Right.
And I kept dating guys that before him that didn't have those skills. So I was always coddling the fussy baby in the corner. What's the matter? You can't have a conversation. You need to go. You're feeling uncomfortable. You're looking at your phone. It's like but we're coddling him because he's still a child. Entertain me is kind of like Idolize Me's baby. So Idolize Me is the purple gumball, the guy
Mhm.
that wants the spotlight.
Right.
Entertain Me. So think of a we actually thought about using the tag name for Idolize Me as the rock star,
Hmm.
the guy that loves. So picture a rock star. Okay. I actually know a very famous drum technician for a
Hmm.
very famous rock star. And he said, when this guy is on stage, he's loving it. He looks amazing. When he comes off stage, he has to get high immediately because the silence that
Is
the crowd is no longer adoring
right.
is too painful. So Idolize Me can become Entertain Me when there's nobody around. So he can maybe be the center of attention, perform even. He could be a politician, a musician, or just a guy that tells a lot of stories.
Right.
And then when he's by himself with you, he's also the guy that has to sit on the couch with you and follows you around because he can't be alone in that way. So you can have an Idolize Me and an Entertain Me combination, or if he's not a center of attention guy in public, he could just be an entertain me guy that has a little pity me. He
Hmm.
might have a sob story too. Feel
Yes.
sorry
So
for
much.
me. All it's endless the way you can combine the flavor. So I never want girls to say their guy is one flavor.
Right.
He's a combination of he probably has is heavily weighted in 3
Hmm.
to maybe 4, but there's still other behaviors in all 8. And so you can just watch for all of them. But yeah, a lot of them will lean probably to 3 to 4.
But what I find most interesting, at least in my experience about the Entertain Me guy, is that's the one, at least most people make the most excuses for. Well, men are awkward. Well, you have to have friends for him. Women carry the burden of socializing. Well, you have to like take him around and introduce him to people. Well, you should just find someone he can talk to, and then you can go talk to your friends. Well, did you make him a plate? Well, if you just make him a plate, then you can go to, and oh my God, it goes on and on. But the
Yeah,
number of
I would ask who are those women saying that? Not to you directly, but I
right.
would just say to people in general, when you look at women advising you that way, I would take very key note. Is this a woman? Is this a woman that's a grandmother or a great grandmother right now? Did she spend her life powdering the butt of some little wimpy guy that maybe was the breadwinner, but never put her or held her to any esteem?
Mhm.
Both of my grandmothers just powdered the asses of my grandfathers, and they were not good husbands to their wives. They were miserable women in their marriages, but they did the right thing. They made him a plate. They made him comfortable. They left jobs that they loved. I mean, it was endless to see the sacrifice that was made just to make this guy comfortable.
Mhm.
So it's like, why do it? Life is too short. You can find a guy that will invest in you and care about your business and love your personality and be energized by you instead of needing you to dim and dial down because he's insecure.
Right. 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 But it's that one. That's a struggle. That one drives me crazy. Mainly because even so, you're right. And my experience is a lot of the older women will certainly do that. And you've looked at their marriages and you're like, oh gosh. But I have also found younger women who do that as well, who feel like it's a woman's job to cater to a man's needs, and so that guy gets a pass. Whereas like a cheater might not get a pass or the dick pic guy might not get a pass, but that guy gets a pass. Even though the attention that he requires, the woman who he's with can't ever do anything else.
Mhm.
Because she's always
Yeah.
catering to him and his
Yeah,
friends.
so
Yeah.
yeah, you're catering to him at what cost?
The cost of a high cost to women, at least in my experience.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
okay, the cheater. Can I tell you? Oh my God. Because this one drives me crazy. It's not,
Mhm.
drives me nuts because, and I've encountered this, not always cheating, but it starts with, it always starts out with, oh, I'm super interested in a relationship. And like, I feel like 10 minutes in, they're like, well, my ex called.
Mhm.
Oh,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I didn't. Oh, you have an ex? Well, and then we could get into the many permutations of that, but it's that one I find the most annoying and the one I'm usually willing to walk away from right away. And they're always like, well, but I loved her for X number of years. She's the mother of my kids. Or even in the distant past. And well, I saw that you got me this gift, but my ex has always got me bigger gifts, nicer gifts, whatever it was. But there's a
Mhm.
lot of that. They want to get you into this triangle, even if the other woman is not actively in the triangle.
Mhm.
They seem to want to keep. I don't know if they're trying to keep you on your toes. I can never quite figure out what they're trying to achieve, because I find it kind of repugnant. But that I think that's the one I've been encountered the most.
Yeah, so the guy that has another woman, so there's the chase me gumball guy that's pink, okay? The pink gumball guy, you don't know who the other women are. He never talks about the other women. So
Right.
that's like the perpetual bachelor that has this Rolodex of women we just imagine, and we're just in this rotation, and
Mhm.
we hope that we become his favorite, but we don't really know who they
No,
are,
and one guy
right?
said to me, "Oh, I have a harem," and he was upfront.
Yeah, so if the guy that says he has a harem, that means he likes the idea of women that feel like they need to compete for him.
Mhm.
The competition for him is the high.
Right.
Okay. So immediately when we start taking an interest in, oh, so you are who's the other woman, and we feel a sense of competition with her,
Mhm.
he starts to give you a peek into, so it can start with I just went through a recent breakup,
Mhm.
and then it starts with stories about the ex.
Mhm.
Now you're, as soon as you become, I'm giving dating advice or relationship advice, or I can't believe she would do that to you. He starts to get you kind of caught up in it.
Mhm.
And then, or he's separated. A
Right.
lot of people will, they literally get the thought of divorce in their head and they think they should be on a dating app.
Right. Yes.
And then they're
It's
like,
like, how
it's
long you been
complicated.
separated? 10 days. You're like, "Wait, what?" Well, you had a
Yeah,
lot of
it's like,
time. Give it a minute.
exactly. Yes, and it's amazing how many people, so I try to paint this picture for my clients, cuz I just recently heard a friend of mine, she recently got divorced, but I know or actually a guy, I'll use a guy as an example. Guy I know got divorced. He's been married a long time. He has a very important job. He is an extremely great guy, but he is a mess inside emotionally, but he would
Right.
hide it very well. He would look like he's, I mean, I'm talking like senior level position, like couldn't even give, I don't even want to give you
Mhm.
the
Because there's
area
3
he
of
works
them,
in.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so, and it would be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm dating this guy," but I remember thinking when he told me, "I really hope you're not on a dating site right now, because I know that he's nowhere near being ready to be with somebody." And the idea of him trying to go on a dating site and make that work was terrifying to me.
Mhm.
And so, but people are on dating sites and they're going on 1, 2, and 3 dates, and then they're like, "Oh my god, I can't do this. I'm overwhelmed." And then they just ghost, or all of a sudden they end it because they just they can't take it. And there's so many of these people on dating sites right now that are trying to uh they're like, "Oh, I'm not in this relationship. I should go find somebody else."
Right.
And then the girl on the other side, she feels like she's had 2 great dates with this amazing guy and can't understand why it's just ended. It's like, well, because this guy is 4 seconds out of a marriage. You know
Exactly.
what I mean?
Mhm.
So we don't see that other side, and then we feel so rejected
Mm.
because we can't comprehend of what's going on because we don't have the full picture.
Right, right. So and I've been on both sides. Either they don't give you the full picture, or they give you way too much information. I think at some point I looked at a friend and I was like, I know a lot about these other women that I don't know. You know,
Mhm,
well, she had
mhm,
mental health issues, and that's why. Okay, that's all very interesting. But what does that have to do with me? And there's a lot of, but this leads over into sort of the convince me guy too. It's like, well, she made me this happened to me. Well, I saw that you brought me this cheesecake, but my ex made me tiramisu. Like, well, then I think I
mhm.
don't need to make you any more desserts, do I? So,
Right,
but
right.
it's a lot of, it's also a little bit of drama, but it's a lot of stirring up a lot, and at least to me, they seem to need the admiration or attention from women, and it becomes non-specific to you. No, I like you, but I also like her, or I can't get over her, or whatever that is.
Mhm.
But that one, there seems to be a lot of that in it. And somebody was saying to me that they wonder if this is uniquely American, where men don't take a break. So they're in one relationship and where it's not completely insane, but then the in between one, they don't take a break, so they're a mess from the other one, and then they have to leave that one in order to get into a new one that may not be as messy, but there's a lot of messiness in between, because there's not
Mhm.
a lot of time taking a break and having some time to self-assess and figure out where they are and what they want.
Yeah, I don't think anything is unique to any culture when it comes to romance. I really don't. I get into this conversation. If I thought that, then I would have if I listened to all my clients, some of my clients are completely done with Puerto Rican men and they are Puerto Rican women. They're like, Puerto Rican men are all bad. Or now we are completely done with the country of Colombia
Right.
because they are all bad there too. And so, it's like, okay, Greek men are out. It's like, no, this is not. There are great men in every culture and there are great women in every culture. And I don't think that it's really simple, right? There's people that can't take a break are the ones that need the constant attention.
Attention, right.
So this is where I pull you back to that 30,000-foot view.
Right.
Let's not fool ourselves that a certain place in the world all of a sudden is now it's about, am I comfortable in my own skin? Do I know my own worth and value on my own? Or is it attached to being in a relationship or somebody chasing me? And
Right.
it's like, even a lot of women are addicted to dating apps. Oh my gosh, I don't have a dating app. I don't have any guys that could text me. I'd have nothing to check. It becomes like a social media addiction.
Mm.
And so then all of a sudden we're focused on this. We get used to checking a feed
Mhm.
and looking for a guy, and you take that feed away and then it's like, I don't know what to do with myself. And so that becomes, we become dependent on what other people think of us. We depend on guys chasing us, and that's when those that's when the problem arises. But the guy that can't take a break is the guy that can't a lot of us can't stand our own company.
Mhm.
So the not taking a break is not being able to sit with yourself.
Right, and they bring in all, what ends up happening is they bring in all of the flavors because they always got something going on.
Mhm.
Always have something going on. Can I? So I want to talk about the victim. I will tell you this. It was the oddest thing I ever got. So there was this guy, and he sent me a text, and the text was a picture of a blood pressure machine where the blood
Mhm.
pressure was elevated, and and I was like, what is this? Like, I didn't understand what it was about, and I didn't hear back until later, which was, well, I was so anxious that I thought that you were gonna like stop dating me, that my blood pressure went up and I had to go take a Xanax or whatever it was. And like,
Oh god.
oh my god, it was true.
Mhm.
I was like, because I
Mhm.
literally looked at, I was like, what is this, a blood pressure machine? Like, I couldn't like, it didn't, there was no context for it. It's not like you had blood
Wow.
pressure or something. I just couldn't for the life of me figure out why somebody would text. I was like, are you at the hospital? Like, what's going on? Whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
But that was that when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's the worst pity mean thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yes, that is, and when you see it, I mean, there is there's a quarter to get you to give her, here's a picture of me with the blood pressure machine.
Mhm.
That's the quarter.
Right.
The response is, oh my gosh, that's when a guy gets so desperate, you're going to leave. And so he'll pull out dramatic tactics like
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
to feel sorry for him. One of my clients, her ex-husband faked a heart attack when he thought she was going to file for divorce.
Mhm.
So then that delayed their process. These guys will do just about anything to manipulate the situation.
Mhm.
However, they're not always all that extreme either.
Right.
So I want everyone to think about, what does an entertain me guy look like when it's super light? It's
Mhm.
just a subtle irritation that we've been hanging out with your friends a little too long.
Mhm.
But do you want to leave? No, no, I'm fine. But he looks bored.
Right.
So it doesn't have to be, "Oh my god, I don't know what to do." Like, I dramatize the fussy baby just to
Right.
paint that picture of like the T-Rex arms and the pacifier, like, "I'm crying, I need to go." And yes, that's the dramatic, but every single one of these flavors can be extremely subtle.
And low key, yeah.
Yes, and low key. And so the best way to look for these is in relationships that are not romantic. Just to start practicing, oh, what does a entertain me father look like?
Mhm.
Mother, who's
Right.
the person that's like doesn't like what's has to have what they want to watch on TV.
Mhm.
And they have to be watching what they want and they need everyone else to be watching that too.
Right.
That's an entertain me person. So this isn't exclusive to romantic relationships, but you'll start to see if you're dating a lot of entertain me guys, you probably have a lot of entertain me friends, relatives, coworkers that
Mm.
you are constantly feeding and
Right.
exhausting yourself trying to get their approval.
Right. No, when you say that out loud, I'm thinking that that's also true. Um, and so can I say this? The idolizing me. I live in Los Angeles. That's there. There's no
Yeah,
end.
idolize me capital.
I don't know what to say. There's a lot of them. They seem more obvious, but I don't know. They just seem more obvious because they're very showy. Like they're so showy. They're so showy.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
it's and they're very entertaining.
Mhm.
And then you're like, okay, now what? That's it's never there's never any depth. And I want to say, can I okay, the chase me guy there, and I don't know if that's I'm from New York City and I live here, and there seem to me a lot of chase me guys, and we all think it's just big cities because they can have any number of people chasing them.
Mhm.
But that's the push pull or the distancer pursuer or however you want to talk about that. That actually is one of the I think one of the most annoying patterns because
Mhm.
you're the minute you call or give them the gumball or whatever, they're in and then it's very intense and then they go away.
Mhm.
And you're like,
Mhm.
wait, what happened? We had this great conversation. We had this great connection. We had this great date. We went to wherever, I don't know, the beach, the whatever. And it was
Mhm.
great. And now what? And
Right.
that's yeah,
Yeah, idolize me guy gets bored quickly.
they do.
So then it makes you feel boring.
Mhm.
You're like, "Oh, it was so fun back there, but now he seems to his light switch is off or something." You're like, "Okay, what's going on right now?"
Mhm.
And so sometimes it could be he needs to be the center of attention. He goes from a lot of times one thing to the other he can talk about or celebrate. Or if he sold something, he achieved something. So you
Mhm.
see this a lot in LA. Oh
Oh
yeah,
my god, so
I'm
much.
just about to be famous. I just talked to this famous person
Right.
who really likes me,
Mhm.
and they have mentioned me on their podcast, which now has given me,
Yes.
everybody's trying to like make themselves more important than they really are. And so but that gives them something to be like, oh yeah, look at me,
Mhm.
idolize me, look how great I am.
Right.
So
The
this
clout
is the guy
chasers,
that,
man. Oh
yes,
god.
he's the guy that if he's getting attention, he doesn't introduce you to
Mhm.
people because he's too busy taking in the attention for himself.
Yes, it's like that scene from Sex and the City, but yes.
Which scene?
Oh, where Carrie's in, Paris, and
Mm.
he's like, "Oh, I need you to go to
Oh,
the event. I need you to go to
the
the"
Russian.
yes,
Mhm.
and she gets there, and he just walks right
Yeah.
away, when he gets that
Yeah, he
attention.
was never investing in her.
Yeah.
That's a great storyline of a girl abandoning her entire self for a man and for a dream, and she finally is all dressed up in Paris by herself eating desserts, and it's like, yeah, okay, how's that life?
Hmm.
There's nothing of substance there.
No,
So, yeah.
no, but there's a lot of that in LA. It's very sad, actually, but
Mhm.
that's a whole different conversation. Okay, the convince me guy. This one I struggle with because I would not. I never take up the I never take up the gambit. But they're always like, well, my ex treated me this way. How are you going to be better? And I think I don't have time for this. I mean,
Yeah.
I get sucked in by some of the other ones. This one, I'm just like, I don't have time. Well,
Mhm.
but don't you think that our relationship could be so good if you, and I have a belief, anything that starts with if you should, I'm out.
Mhm.
So, but it's interesting that, and when I talk to different women, some of us have such an easier time dismissing some and then get so sucked in by others.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, and there are reasons for that.
yeah.
So, when I have my clients take the quiz, we look at the quiz results for a specific guy, or if she's like, "Hey, you can take it for your exes,
Hmm.
whatever is the most significant relationship, or you can take it 2 or 3 times." And we look at the results and we see, okay, these are the flavors of attention that he's craving, but why are you so sucked in by it? Just what you said. There are reasons that we are more susceptible to give
Hmm.
that kind of attention to somebody, and that is what the cycle is, that we constantly aren't aware of it.
Hmm.
We feed into it and we repeat it. And sometimes it can these behaviors look different on different guys.
Yes, that's
And then
the
all
hard
this
part. Yes.
yes. So when you're all caught up in the chemistry, you can miss some of it because you're not attuned to, oh, wait, that is convinced me, but it was very subtle, or oh, I see how he's kind of doing this thing. Like, convince me, it doesn't necessarily come out that convince me can be the intellectual guy that's a
Hmm.
little bit condescending to
Hmm.
you,
Hmm.
that you kind of feel like you're always impressing him a little bit, or he's not quite impressed with you, not quite impressed with your friends. Not
Right.
in a terrible way, but he can kind of always be that doubter. We
Right.
call him the skeptic. He's
Hmm.
a little skeptical of things, or
He always has
he
an
might
eyebrow raised in my head, but yeah, it's like,
yes,
wow.
that's exactly the emoji. In fact, we talked about using emojis, so we could really yes, he has the eyebrow raised emoji, the smirk on his face.
Hmm.
He has quote unquote trust issues.
Hmm.
So as you're in the relationship, it's like, I just have a really hard time trusting, which I will tell women, you can't say this to people. I have a really hard time trusting. That's your problem.
Right.
It's not anybody else. You have time. Oh, sorry about your issues, but
I know.
go
Go to
talk to your therapist about
therapist
your
about
trust
it.
issues.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it's like, oh, okay, you have trust issues, so you expect me, do I need to do a special trust producing dance for you? You know what I mean? Like, I
Yes.
can't help you with that. And that if you look at a convince me guy, he's like, I have a really hard time trusting. You're like, wow, then I'm gonna have a really hard time. If you already have that issue, then that's gonna make things very challenging, don't
Right.
you think? And give it right back at him like, "Yeah, how are you gonna work that out there, buddy?" You know what I mean? And I
Right.
would say the same thing to myself. We can't put that on somebody, but they do, and then we paddle like little ducks under the water with our little feet. "Well, let me tell you, blah, 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 I would never do that, and
Mhm.
this is how I am, and I totally agree." And, we try to, like, answer these questions, and we don't realize we're working for love. We're trying to earn it.
I know, I know. It becomes you're working too hard for this. But it's
Mhm.
really hard to see that because I don't want to say the conventional wisdom is that relationships are work. And so people I think confuse like working out, let's say minor differences with working to get the relationship to be something at all.
Mhm.
I think.
So, in each flavor, I share with women what it looks like. So, what does convince me look like in a healthy relationship? So, what should
Mhm.
this look like? He does trust you. He thinks you're incredibly special. You don't have to prove anything. He'll discuss in a healthy way insecurities that he's had, but he doesn't assume that you're the same as other people. He is. is able to communicate honestly. He's not a nitpicker. He's more positive.
Mm-hmm.
Being you is just enough. He is plenty, is more than enough. He likes the real you. So he will own what is his.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had trust issues, and I would tell Ian, I am feeling insecure in this moment, and this is my own baggage that is showing up here,
Mm-hmm.
and you have done nothing to create this, but I am having this response right now.
Right.
And then he could cater to that and have compassion,
Mm-hmm.
but instead of, well, I just felt like when you looked at your phone you were talking to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
know, and he never was. But I like,
Right.
it was just like, I had those feelings, and we have this we have this joke. So he was living in Canada, and he's very into trees, and he gets this magazine, or his dad sends it. It's the Ontario Woodlander
Okay.
magazine,
Okay.
okay?
Mm.
So I walked up to him. This was like very early in our relationship, and he quickly locked his phone and like looked. He was like, "Yeah, what's going on?" And that just shot like fear through my whole body. And I was like, "What were you just looking at?
Mm-hmm.
Were you just texting somebody?" And I think he was just shocked, and he was like, "No, I was reading this email from my dad." And he opens it up, and I see Ontario Woodlander, and I was just like, "Oh my god, I am such an idiot right now." And I felt so embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I've done enough work on myself and just be like, "I'm so sorry." And he's had someone cheat on him, so he knows, he understands it.
Right.
But it's like, I'm not accusing you. I just had this feeling in this moment, and I freaked out. And then we would just hug, and that's it. So whenever we this comes up, he'll be like, is it a Mrs. Woodlander situation?" Like, yes, it's a Mrs. Woodlander situation. So that's what it looks like in a healthy way, but a convince me guy will be more accusatory.
Right. Yes. Yes. So I have a bigger question. So how is it that you are able to, because what is the most interesting about this is that, I mean, we can talk about the minutia. I mean, all the guys and all the so many crazy things. I mean, the blood pressure machine, probably the least of them. But how is it that you were able to not only distill it, but have that sort of top line view where you're like, this is attention seeking and I'm not going to give them, or I'm going to filter through them. Oh, well, that's interesting that he wants X or that he is Y. And I'm going to filter and keep going. What led you to be able to do that? Because I think that one of the biggest time sucks is the time it takes to figure this out. At least,
Mhm.
in the beginning, it's like, we'll take 6 months to figure out this guy is a cheater, or it takes 9 months to figure out this guy can't be by himself, or because there's that intensity in the beginning, and then when it sort of mellows out, you start to see some of those things quicker. But
Mhm.
the more, especially after reading this, you could see it like 10 minutes in, and I'm thinking, oh my god, 10 minutes is a lot shorter than 9 months.
Oh, yes, and that is my number one goal. Is it took me I remember when I first started developing this concept, and it just seemed too good to be true, and it seemed like somebody I was like, "Who am I? I am just a girl from Nebraska." You know, I moved to New York City to find my dreams and actually put this out into the world, but, when I first was discovering this, I had no idea what I was really onto.
Mhm.
And I felt like it was big, and I remember asking my sister years ago, and I thank her every single day in my mind for telling me these words, because I said, "Is this gumball thing stupid?" I go, "Just be honest with me." And, we have that relationship where it's
Mhm.
like, "Do these jeans really make me look fat?" Be like, "They're not your best pair."
Right.
It's like, she's the one person that can tell me I look fat and I never feel bad about myself. We have that, it's like,
Right.
come on, I need somebody to tell me not to buy these jeans. So I was like looking to her for that kind of like, "Is this stupid?" And she said, "No, it's not stupid."
Mhm.
She goes, "It's worth millions." And this was like in 2010 or something. So we haven't seen the millions yet,
Right.
but I feel like the reason I didn't know what I was onto, and I had to do my own healing to really get to a place where I could teach this from a confident perspective.
Mhm.
And then I spent a lot of time thinking I had to have a man in order to have the end result, right? So
Yeah, that's a
yeah, it's a
precursor to
little
start.
bit annoying to me now. I do have this guy, but every time now it's like, yes, I'm engaged and I'm getting married, and that is great. But I hesitate there because I want to scream to women, I did the work, the underneath foundation. So how did I figure it out? It was a very slow process for me because I was essentially the creator of the concept, right? It was like being a mad scientist with potions and, is this okay, wait, attention seeking. And I spent a lot of time thinking, has no one ever said this before? Like somebody has to be saying,
I
oh, but
haven't
attention.
found it if that's the case. It was such a
I know.
it blew my mind. You have no idea. I'm like on the beach, like in Pacific Palisades, and I was like, "Oh my god, I think my mind has just been blown."
Yeah, I know. I mean, because I just kind of caught on to one guy saying every time he puts in a quarter, you give him a gumball. And oh my God, like for the life of me, I wish I could tell you why I continued to hang on to that concept. And then the evolution of what it is today, it took many years of, look, this thing would hang on my walls and I would have stacks of research and then I would go do my other job for months and then I'd come back to it and I would think, is this a thing? I felt unqualified to even be this kind of person. It just felt like somebody else has to have done this. I would go to the library. In fact, I went to the university library and I was like, "Hey, I'm writing about this." And I even felt like, am I really writing? I felt like this imposter like walking around. And then as I started putting it out into the world and I moved to New York and started broadcasting about it, and it really hasn't. Nobody is saying it in this way. And so I had to really understand what I actually had,
Mhm.
how good it was, how powerful it is. And anytime I've ever doubted, I just know how powerful it's been in my own life.
Right.
And Ian, my fiance, he's helped me with so much content creation. He's like, every time I go interact publicly with people, he's like, this is in my head. And he goes, I stand there and I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's idolized me. And an idolized me guy, even dude to dude, he's looking at this guy. No matter how much I try to network with this guy, he's only here to talk about himself. It will never manifest anything. Move on to the next guy.
Right.
So it'll
Right.
help you even in networking. Oh,
Right.
idolize me chick. She just changes the subject back to herself all the time.
Right.
Move on from that bitch. She ain't
Mhm.
gonna ever do a thing for you.
Right.
She's not a collaborator,
Right.
right? So that stuff, that's the kind of stuff that was just life changing. And then my friendships started to look different. I was like, oh man, I have gumball friends.
Mhm.
I have women that, and then I would be like, oh, but look at this friendship. This is really my awesome friend.
Mhm.
This is our, then I was like, oh, I love you so much more. I was like,
Exactly.
I really see your value now. And you really do care about me. It was
Mhm.
just like this really incredible evolution of seeing the genuine hearts of the people that I love the most, seeing the people that were struggling with this addiction of trying to have relationships through their attention addiction,
Mhm.
and then coming out on the other side and saying, okay, now Melissa, you've got to teach this. So how do you drill this into social media and how do you explain this? So I had to kind of learn that whole world too of, going in and being a content creator. What am I going to be? A blogger,
Right.
a podcaster? I was like foreign to that world and I also had bills to pay. And so it took me a while, but now I've made it into a coaching program and I
Mhm.
have an online academy, the Back to You Academy, that is still available that I include in some of my other programs. But, for the girl that's like, okay, I'm over this, teach me the things so I
Right.
can move on. Because my ideal girl is like, I do everything else great. I'm taking care of my body. I'm at the gym. I'm doing infrared saunas. I get my nails done. I'm doing really well at my work. Like I've got my shit together, but it comes to relationships and dating apps, and it feels like there's this huge problem area. And then that makes a high performing woman
Mhm.
really doubt herself.
So
And it
much.
affects you in your work. It really does. And it makes you feel less than you just start to think like, I do all this other stuff so well. Like, why is this area the screwed up area? And what can I do to fix this? Because the more online dating, the worse you feel about yourself
Yeah.
because you can't figure out what's wrong.
Right.
And so, yes, that's it. It helped me diagnose it. And for so the short answer to this very long answer is It took me a long time, but now I have created a process so that women can get it quickly. Here are the top red flags. Here are the categories. This is how you identify it. This is what you look for on date 1, date 2, date 3.
Hmm.
And this is also how you live in a world where you're not overanalyzing every date
Right.
and every
Right.
interaction. I don't want people to do that. You want to keep your beautiful heart. You are a giver. You love with your whole heart, and your future husband will receive that love and give it back to you in a way you've never imagined. Like, I want, now that I have real love, it's
Hmm.
like, no wonder why these gumball guys could never. I mean, it's
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 night
as
and day,
if,
isn't it? It's night and
oh,
day.
it's night and day. I mean, the real thing is nothing like, even though the gumball guys can be fun and the idolize me guy can be entertaining,
Hmm.
and yes, it can be momentarily interesting or hot and sexy, nothing beats somebody that is there for you day in and day out, someone you can talk to, and that truly is your best friend, your best advocate, the one that takes care of you when you're sick and celebrates your successes. I mean, that's what we want,
Right.
right?
Yes.
That is the ultimate, and that's where I want to get all of my women.
So my question for you is, and I ask this seriously because you're a woman, I'm a woman. I've been in
Mhm.
therapy, you've been in therapy, you're helping women through this process. Have But I'm meeting when I these gumball guys, none of them that I've met, and I've asked some of them, none of them I've met. I don't want to say think there's anything wrong because I don't want to say it like that, but they don't see any problem with their approach, even though it has not yielded what they say they want, and
Mhm.
there seems to be no catalyst for change. Whereas a lot of the women I know are like, well, this is not how I wanted this to turn out. Let me see what I can change. Do you think that I'll leave the women out because I don't date women. But do you think that the trauma in some of these guys is too much, or they just aren't addressing it, or they're just so busy trying to put a band-aid on it? It's like taking drugs. They're so busy trying to put, I mean, it's the
Mhm.
natural hormonal drugs as opposed to, external, but so busy trying to put a band-aid on it that they're not dealing with the underlying issues. It's like, I'm bleeding, I cut my leg, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this tiniest little band-aid I could find on it.
Mhm. Yeah, so when I look at what is the gumball, I remember my therapist, I thought when I was really trying to figure out if I was onto something, I was like, "Man, I really wanna talk to a PhD or somebody, like, that's done very credible research." I kinda wanted to talk to the snobby therapist
Mhm.
that looked down on any kind of, um, self-published work.
Right.
I was always kind of thinking of that person judging me,
Mhm.
like the people in the psychology community, like what would they think of it?
Mhm.
And so I was like, who is that person that has those credentials that would look at this and tell me what's actually going on? And then I was like, duh, my own therapist is a PhD. And he's not snooty or snotty at all, but he would have told me, yeah, this is a little bit, this is where you're off.
Right.
So I told him my concept, and I got a, huh, interesting.
Mhm.
And then he started referring to guys as gumball guys and other clients. He's like, I have this client. Yeah, she's kind of dating one of those gumball guys. And I was like, oh my God, there's my therapist using the word. But what he told me was he said, he's listening to me go on and on. He's like, Melissa, what's the gumball? And I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, what is the gumball? What are they getting out of it?
Mhm.
And I said, I don't know. I was like, what do you mean? I thought it was the high of attention. He's like, it's validation.
Oh.
So they're seeking validation, but then I've expanded that definition because I've looked at, if you look at all these flavors, because we could talk for, I could talk to you for the next 24 hours,
Right.
but if you look at what does the gumball do? It suppresses pain or
Mm.
it induces pleasure. It fills the void, it numbs, it reassures, it inspires, it's the instant gratification, but it's always transactional. It's
Mhm.
always a temporary result. It never, so yes, some of these gumball guys, they're looking for the temporary fix
Right.
because yes, they're not willing or even aware that there's work to do. People that go to therapy are aware of a problem that they want to fix and they proactively put in the work to do it.
Right.
So the guy we're waiting on changing, if he's just talking about it, but he's got no path, process, therapist, books, podcasts, anything? You know, is he doing anything?
Mhm.
Or is he just talking about if I just get this job
Oh
or if
my
I just get
god,
this
yes. Like the
promotion or,
job,
you know,
woman, car, house. Oh my god, yes.
yeah,
Yes.
yes,
And then I
yes, exactly.
And then I have this other one of the things that you said was really quite eye-opening for me, is you said that a lot of these guys are afraid of being seen and afraid of you seeing their who they truly are. And they
Mhm,
cover it up with whether it's pity or bluster. They're covering up and just so afraid. And when you get a peek at them, because people can't, I mean, it's so hard to keep up with facades for forever. And when you get a peek at them, they disappear. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I had never considered that. But when you said that, the insecurity, which I mean, people have varying levels of insecurity about many things, but it became much more obvious. Like they're insecure about not having money, not having a career, not living wherever they want to live. I mean, it's, the list is endless. But
mhm,
that was the first time I saw that, or they'd have that really long, great conversation with you. And then 3 days or 3 weeks, whatever it is, they would
mhm,
disappear when they told you about the trauma, the mother, the whatever it is, and they weren't the pity me guy. They would disappear as if you couldn't handle who they really were.
mhm,
And I don't that is something I had not thought about because I mean, maybe as women, I'm not sure, we're wired to try to figure out, well, what's wrong with us? Or into the surface level of what's wrong with them. But them being afraid of being seen. When you said that, it was really eye-opening. I was like, oh, that's true. Because when you really look at it and you think, about like all the things they've said, they really do fear being seen. I don't have enough money. If you see my apartment, you'll know, or if you get in my car, you'll know. Or I mean, I've had
mhm,
guys who are like, they'll park around the corner. I'm like, what, like what,
mhm.
because they didn't want you to see.
Yeah, and it could be something as simple as, "I don't want you to see I don't have enough money.
Right.
I don't want you to see that I really don't have the." So, a lot of times, the guy that doesn't want you to see him has presented himself with a certain life or lifestyle that he wants you to believe he has, and the
Right.
closer you get to him, the more you'll see that that's not the case.
Right.
So that's the simple, like, physical things that we can see.
Right.
But being seen emotionally, it was something I was stuck on for a long time, and then I had this embarrassing moment. I shouldn't have been embarrassed because I was still in the library. I was in the library every weekend, like,
Mhm.
researching, like, could I be onto something? I had so much self-doubt just from the past that I literally could not just run with this concept because I just was stuck in, there has to be more to this. Somebody has to have said this. Something more. So I came across that famous word intimacy. What
Mhm.
is intimacy?
Oh,
And I was like, wow, I have never really researched intimacy. And I felt so stupid once I started because came together when I studied intimacy.
mm,
So, intimacy cannot occur when we're playing games
okay.
because intimacy is full transparency. When if you and I have intimacy, it means we are fully transparent with each other. I'm not hiding anything. So when you think about your best girlfriend, you can meet for coffee on a Saturday morning with a messy bun and you're still in your PJs, and she could come over to your house and maybe you even haven't brushed your teeth yet and you're
Right.
like, "Hey, come on in." And your house is whatever it is,
Mhm.
and they you are fully accepted. They completely know who you are, inside out, habits, pros, cons, all of it.
Right.
Full true intimacy, okay?
Mhm.
So, when I was reading, and actually Wikipedia has a pretty good definition of intimacy and what it actually, there's a lot of great content there if you just want to look at it as an overview.
Right.
But if I play a game or I hide at all, so if I hide anything from you, maybe like, I wanna have coffee with you, but I'm not gonna let you see my house. I wanna have coffee with you, but I'm gonna clean everything up so you think it looks this way all the time when it really doesn't. Or I'm gonna have coffee with you, but I'm gonna do my hair and makeup as if I wake up and look like, I'm ready to walk the red carpet at
Right.
8 o'clock in the morning. Whatever, like, whatever we're doing to hide our true selves,
Mhm.
that's what interrupts that ability to build connection. And the reason we connect with people like on Instagram or we connect with the Kardashians. Maybe we don't really love or appreciate everything, but they just show us everything.
Right.
So it's like them or not, but they're going to give you the whole story,
Hmm.
and you might judge them, but they have made themselves vulnerable.
Right.
So that vulnerability creates the connection. So when a guy or gumball guy, when they play games or they hide, it interrupts the ability to build that intimacy and that true connection.
Okay. Okay. So it just becomes an interrupter. Okay.
It becomes an interrupter. And so, and yes, he is afraid, if you see me, if you see my car, my house, my job, my bank account, my other girlfriend, my wife, my other family, if you see how I really live my life, you will reject me.
Hmm.
That a lot of guys operate that way. If I let you see it, you're going to reject me, and I can't handle the pain of that, so I'm going to reject you first, or I'm going to keep you at a distance.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's that one, that's a hard one. I mean, that's a hard one because
Mhm.
women, I don't think, I mean, most women, I'm not saying all, are nearly as judgmental as these men would make it out to be. I mean, they make it out
Oh,
to,
no,
women
they're not.
women are so accepting of so many
Mhm.
things, and yet they're hiding. And,
Yes. I would see that and think, "Oh my god, I can see that he doesn't like that about himself. Let me work really hard to make you feel comfortable. Let me show you how loving I am by accepting and showing how I will accept you fully."
mhm.
And I would work and work and work at it.
Like a
So this
job.
is why,
Yeah.
yeah, this is why I laugh at, just do these 2 things, and then he will come and he will want you, and he will find you irresistible, and he will do all of the things. It's like, yeah, when he stops hiding, you mean the guy that's hiding is gonna do that? You mean the guy that's embarrassed of his job, his house, his car? You mean the guy with a different family? I mean, it's, who is this guy that this advice works for? Give me your testimonials. I'd love to, and I want to interview the guy that made all those changes because the other girl followed this advice.
Right.
It's clickbait because it seems like, oh, I know why us girls fall for that, because we're like, hey, there's a solution and I can actually manage it. So if I can change these things,
Right.
I can get the result. So it makes him not have to do any of the work too.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So, what I love the most about all of this is the top down view. So, one of the things that you have said in the past is filter like a freak. So, how do you recommend that people let me say this. Do you recommend that people just spend less time? And I'm not saying don't enjoy yourself on dates, because I've always thought dating was fun. I've never actually disliked it. It's fun. Meeting new people is fun. Going places is fun. Having new experiences is fun.
Mhm.
Um, but the filtering part is the well, for me, has always been the hard part. But how are you interested? I think, in, I guess, mainly shortcutting and having people filter a little bit more quickly in order to find that guy who truly likes you. And what is so interesting is that the approach of people who truly like you is so different from all of this. But unless you've had it or witnessed it, I don't know if you would know it existed.
Mhm.
And that actually is truly the hard part of this whole thing.
Yes, you're right. It is hard. So you have to curate the relationships that exist in your life right now
Mhm.
so that you become only accustomed to being valued and heard. And so if you're talking to people that aren't paying attention to what you're saying,
Mhm.
if you have bad friends that if you keep entertaining gumball people,
Right.
you will struggle filtering gumball guys out and dating. So number 1 is really look at who you're spending time with, who you're on the phone with. Just look at your text messages right now on your phone. Who are you
Right.
texting? What's going on in those messages? Share something exciting that's going on at work with different people. Who's like, oh, look, I just went to lunch with people, and it was like I was sharing something, and it was like there was no response. They had no idea what I was talking about. It was just like, okay, and I told myself, this is not the audience for this topic.
Right.
So you have to be able to immediately identify that and not exhaust yourself by investing in people that are not paying attention to you, listening to you,
Mhm.
because I used to take this so personally, and I would work really hard on those relationships because I felt like I should, or they should be important. This person has a title of aunt or uncle or mom or dad or sister or brother, cousin, whatever. And you just think, oh my God, you
Right.
like them. Some of these people you really like,
Hmm.
but you just can't have that level of depth with them. And you keep attempting to increase the depth and it's just not there.
Right. Yes.
So if you stop doing that in your regular life, then when you go into the dating life, when you say do it quickly, I feel like there are no rules when it comes to dating, which might sound weird coming from me, but I don't want you to think of it as I've got to change the way I date or I shouldn't be on a date for 6 hours because that's too long.
Right. All that. Yes. All of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, you might have a date for 6 hours and that could be your future husband. Who knows? I'm not gonna be the one that tells you, "Yeah, you know what? You're in a great conversation, but your time's up." Like, it's like, that's so rude. I would never wanna do that to somebody, and people are like, "Should I kiss on the first date?" I'm like, "I don't know. I mean, if you don't make it weird if the moment's not there, but
Mhm.
if the moment's there, then go ahead and kiss the girl." It's like, who wants to ruin a romantic moment? Like, so if it's there, it's there. Like, I'm not going to judge how you do it. What I want to help women do is when they're on dates, it just becomes so obvious. So that's why I love coaching and getting girls in my groups and we collaborate because the filtering is easy when you know exactly what all these symptoms look like.
It's true. It's true. It's true. It's as if you opened my eyes. It's like as if I was at the supermarket and I was like, everything's a pear, everything's a pear, everything's a pear.
Mhm.
And then
Yeah.
you came in and you're like, no? And I was like, oh, but it's something that if you come from maybe a certain background, it's something that I found difficult unless somebody else gives you the key, a clue, something. I think people can
Mhm.
discover it on their own. It just takes time, and shortcutting some of that time is helpful to, and especially not so much because of time spent with people's wasted time. It's just to avoid some of the hurt, the unnecessary hurt,
Mhm.
unnecessary entanglements, unnecessary drama.
Oh yeah, I fully created this so I could find the red flags before I fell in love. I just so annoyed with myself that I would develop feelings and then have to have the crushing reality that this was a shallow person.
Mhm.
What did I miss? How did I not get this? Like that's my clients are always so embarrassed. Like, oh God, they fill
It
out the
feels
quiz and they're like,
mortifying. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie.
yeah, it does. You're like, what is wrong with me? Why didn't I see this?
Especially
It's
when you
hard to
succeed in
see.
other areas of your life.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah, and you don't wanna be around your friends or your family because 'cause you're like, "Are you seeing anybody?" And you're like,
Nope.
"No, I'm not seeing anybody," and, I feel like the third wheel. And, yeah, I teach my girls how to navigate those conversations so you can start to feel like you're not some mutant in society. Like, there's many more single people just in the United States.
Right.
Single people exceeded married people years ago,
Right.
and so single is the majority, not the minority.
Right.
And, only half of the married people make it. And most married people are cheating on each other.
Right. That's true.
So, it's not all great over there either. It's like, and so, that's one of my comebacks. There's like, you know what, with all these people that are cheating in their marriages and these online dating, it's like you really got to make sure you find the right person or being single is the way to go because there are just so many ways that, a lot of half of them end in divorce. And some statistics say 70% of married couples are cheating on each other.
Right.
So that only gives a solid 30% of really successful marriages. I mean, what do you think attributes to that? Say that to a judgmental person with a ring on her finger that's judging you for being single. It's like, really, it's like it's so rude and I hate I hate it for every girl going through that because it's like one more person highlighting my relationship status.
Right.
So, yeah, and actually just for what I do, I started asking that, like, why do you think so many people are cheating on each other? What's actually going on out there? And start a different conversation that isn't focused on you being single.
Right.
Like, you know what? Single is just temporary. Like I finally started saying, I haven't met the guy yet. I wouldn't be single if I hadn't now I've met the guy. Now
Right.
I'm not single, but I just couldn't imagine like, who is this guy I'm going to have in my house every day? I couldn't picture I'm such an introvert. Like, who would be in my house every day, like living with me? Like, I couldn't imagine that life.
Right.
And until Ian and I started talking, and then now I can't imagine not having him here.
Right.
So,
But
yeah,
I
it's
think one of
crazy.
the things I do want to say is that I wish people would, and when people talk about dating and the problems, what I know from having been long married and knowing a lot of long married people, so people, the gumball guys do get married.
Oh, yeah.
And
They
then
do.
they do. And so
Mhm.
that does not like solve the attention seeking. I mean, there's a lot of
No.
women I know who are, it's like running on a treadmill, their marriage. You know, every
Yeah,
day
how many
they,
times you been hit on by a married
oh
man?
my
A
God, so many.
lot.
So a lot. So it's
Mhm.
not, that is not the game changer. The game changer for women, I think, is just changing themselves.
It's yes,
I don't
it's
want to say, I'm not saying
changing.
fixing, I'm
Yeah,
just sort of changing. Like it's
yeah.
like maybe putting it into focus or being a little bit more clear.
I think what I help women do is realize who they already are.
Hmm.
It's helping you develop a filter, realizing who you already are and what you actually are offering a guy,
Right.
and you've just been offering it to the wrong people. That's like 90, probably 90% of what we look at.
Right.
And then if there are things that are coming up, sure, we can all do better,
Right.
right? We can all present ourselves better. We can all work on our own traumas, our own things we bring to the relationship that can add complexity, because if you've had, say, a fight me mom or dad and you grew up not being able to resolve conflict well,
Right.
that's going to flow over into your relationship. Even with a great guy,
Right.
that can cause problems. So I do help women go into that new relationship, because when you've dated gumball guys and you finally find a good one, you kind of don't know what to do with that one either. You're like,
No.
you're like, "Oh god, now what?"
Yeah.
I mean, he's just normal every day. Like, what do I do with normal? We're so used to
The
the
highs and
roller
the
coaster.
lows. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like now I'm on this steady train with, like, no hills, and it feels like, is that wrong? That can feel like a big adjustment.
It is.
And
Yeah.
then
Or uncomfortable,
yes.
as I say to my therapist. It's uncomfortable. She's like, uncomfortable in this case is good.
Mhm. Yes, it's a major adjustment, but then once you make that adjustment, it's like now take me off this nice steady train that's just so relaxing and peaceful, and I can do my work. To do you want to go back to that roller coaster amusement park ride every day? And you're like, "Oh my god, that sounds
It
exhausting."
does. Exactly.
It's like, "Oh god, I don't know how I did it." So, yeah, so there's a period of where, I think every girl listening, you need to have that, you need to allow yourself to have seasons. This is my season of, maybe this is my season where I take a break from dating. I really evaluate this. I learn about this stuff so I know what I'm looking for, and just strengthen your knowledge. I think it's just assumed we should just know all this stuff, and I don't know why we make that assumption. I don't know why we think we should be able
No,
to
I feel like it's the
get over a
one.
breakup. Yeah.
Exactly. I feel it's the one thing we know the least about. Well, not me, not everybody, but a lot of people. When I have gotten older and having women friends and talk about relationships, we talk about the dearth of knowledge we had. Like this was the one area that was just nobody talked about. Like I know how to balance a
Mhm.
checkbook, get a car fixed. I could do a lot of things, and then you're like, well, how do you resolve conflict in a relationship? And then there's silence.
Yes, I know. It's not something that's really taught unless you had parents that really
Modeled it.
thought that way and
Yeah.
modeled that. Yes, but if they don't, then, or if they didn't, it can be extremely difficult to navigate. And that's what holds a lot of people up. So I know there's so many women that they want to have children, they want to get married, they want to just get through this.
Mhm.
And so I want to I can't make any promises of when somebody's going to meet the right person,
Right.
but it certainly can be a lot more pleasant of a process
Mhm.
where you don't plunge into self-doubt and really go through what I went through just so many times, where I would be depressed and down on myself. Ian watches me coach clients and I'll be like, "Oh, this girl's about ready to make a switch." And he won't see. So I'm like, "Really? Why? Why do you say that?" Like, "Cause I know." And I told him, I said, "I think you'd be surprised at how low I was
Mhm.
and where I pulled myself out of, or what I had to do to get from where she is to the next step.
Mhm.
But I know what it looks like when she's on the verge. She's just about to make that click.
Mhm.
Even though she looks like, she's crying, she's going through a breakup, I always can see that little fighter in her.
Mhm.
It's like, oh, there's the girl that's grabbing on to she'll grab onto a rung of something that's important to her. Like, you know what? I am gonna be a writer. I'm gonna take that class. Maybe I am gonna go on that vacation. Or she'll make some decision that tells me, there she is. There's the real girl in there.
Right.
So yeah, it's not about becoming someone different. It's really about discovering who you actually already are.
And thank you so much for that. We'll end with that because that's what, on all the bike rides, listening to you in my earbuds, that's what it got to. And I was like, oh, this is who I am and it's okay. And I don't
Hmm.
need all of this drama, whatever it is, it's okay. And it has
Yes.
been life changing since I last talked to you, hugely life changing. And I'm going to be honest, I cannot thank you enough.
Oh, you're so welcome. That makes I just got chills. It's just like, it's still so weird to me that people are in other places of the world listening to my voice. It's just, I don't think I'll ever get used to it, just because there's just this part of me that's the girl in the library wondering, I'm doing this? So just anybody that's listening, it just feels like the first time every time, is it's so rewarding to help turn this switch on, make a woman see her worth and find love that actually she's deserving of, and to get that pouring into her life in all of her relationships is just such a wonderful, the most rewarding work I could ever ask for. So I was telling Ian, I'm in the love business. So like, I don't want to listen to the news. I'm in the love business. This is what I do. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that. It means the world to me.
And thank you so much for being on my podcast today, Melissa.
Yes, my pleasure. This was so much fun.
This has been A Time to Thrill with me, your host, author Aime Austin. If you've enjoyed today's episode, I hope you'll share it, rate it, and give it a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. Reviews will help other listeners find my conversations with brilliant creators. Also, please hit the follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast app. In addition to hosting this podcast, I am the author of the forthcoming Nicole Long series of legal thrillers. Outcry Witness and Major Crimes are available for pre-order. I'm also the author of the Casey Court series of legal thrillers. They are available wherever books are sold, at your local library, and also an audiobook. You can follow me on Instagram at ThrillerPod or on Facebook at Legal Thriller Author or at A Time to Thrill. Thank you for listening. I'll be back next month with another great conversation.